Hello, I wanted to talk to you right now about silver, gold, and fiat currency and stuff during hard times, especially because, in my first video I was talking about how these are like three types of markets, which is like the legal market, which is regulated by taxes. Then the second market, which is gray market, meaning people that will find things that they have and they are reselling and stuff. And then there is the black market, which is basically people doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, and yet they are doing it because it is either a choice or a necessity. So anyway, here we go. And before I continue, I wanted to remind you that down below is my email in case that you want to help me out by sending an Amazon gift card. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that one. So now here we go. Fiat currency. So now you have money, meaning you have bills and coins, and this is something that nobody tells you, and they should teach it, and they should tell you that your currency, meaning the one that is in your country, is a national symbol, meaning it has patriotic kind of attachment to it, and it also has emotional attachment to it, and it also has historical attachment to it. It also has cultural attachment to it. It also has expectations attached to it. And not only that, but it also has a value attached to it. And you're like, no. And I'm like, yeah. I'm sorry. Every time that you hold a bill, you are holding history. Because somebody had to come up with that idea. By the way, that was Benjamin Franklin in the US when he said that, we couldn't have any more coins and stuff, and it was crazy because everybody had different kind of coins and stuff. And then he says, oh no, we're going to have paper currency, which is, better because you can carry 50 or better or whatever, and it's going to be, big deal and stuff like that. So now, now let's continue. So, I was talking to you right now that when you have that bill, you have history, you have culture, because you cannot buy things if you don't have money. You can have trade things, but that is another different kind of culture. That is not, the culture that you probably are accustomed to. Meaning that if you're going to trade something, you might feel that is a unfair deal or whatever, and you may have to do it because there is no other way. But now you have a culture in which you have more fairness, because you have something that everybody will value equally, which is that piece of paper that you have there. And some people might have, different idea about what the hell to do with that, but that means that you have freedom. Because let's say that you work with only corn, and you have only corn to change. And, you go to a hotel, and that hotel says, oh no, we're not taking corn, we have too much corn. Do you have, I don't know, flour? And you're like, no, I don't have flour. And so, now you don't have freedom to stay in the hotel because that hotel won't take it. So basically now you have a culture of freedom, more fairness and stuff like that, based upon the fact that you have a currency. Now you might be thinking, but this is done with gold and silver the same. And I'm like, yeah, not exactly. Because like I said before, when you have fiat currency for your own country, you have taxes and you have other things that are attached to it, like emotional things. Because let's say that you don't have money. Yeah, how do you feel? Yeah. Now let's say that you have a lot of money. How do you feel? Yeah. Now let's say that you work for your money and you make it a fair amount and you think you are okay, and money is not a stressful thing because you don't have too much and you don't have too little. You are just okay. So how do you feel? Yeah. Now, does money have anything to do with you being a bad person or a good person? No. But do you feel that it will make you a better person or a worse person? Oh yeah. That's why currencies have emotional things. Now, I'm going to continue to talk to you right now about something that you might consider, which is, very important, and it is this. Fiat currency are created by governments, meaning that it has a national value to it, meaning that it also has a national symbolism of it. It represents your country. Now, let's say that you go, I don't know, let's say that you are in Venezuela and you want to spend Japanese yen. I mean, I will be like, right, why don't you go to the bank and change that, in either US dollars or Venezuelan bolivars, because it's a national thing. I'm not going to be able to spend Japanese yens in Venezuela. Now, this is important to understand. When currencies are associated with a culture and a particular country that has very, very, very high values about, freedom and other things that every single person wants to get, oh hell, that fiat currency can trade in any country, like British pounds in a certain area. Or US dollars, or maybe other ones. So I'm going to make a point in here, and here's the deal. Why you really, really, really want fiat currency? Because fiat currency also represents hope. You're like, no. And I'm like, yes it is. Here is why. You have two types of things that, I'm going to make a side note in here. Just stay with me for a second. Remember how I told you that security and safety are two things that happen in different places? And how I have been telling you in most of my videos that safety happens in your head and security happens in your environment and your actual body and, your actual life? You're like, no, I'm serious. Let's say that you feel safe, so you don't lock your doors at night. Now, are you actually secure? Oh hell no, somebody can just open the door and get into you and then rape you or do whatever the hell they want because you felt safe. Are you safe? No. Now, let's say that there is another way. Why do you think that when people go through a hard time and they go to the ambulance and stuff, the first thing that people say is, you are safe? You don't see people saying, hey, you are secure. No, because people is already secure. You can see with your eyes that you are, secure, you are okay, you have a blanket, you feel good, you're in the ambulance or whatever, but you are still scared and you're freaking out. Do you have a reason to be freaked out if you're in an ambulance and you have, a blanket and everybody's there trying to make sure that you're okay? No, because you just went through a hard time. So safety happens in your head. This is where your habits come very at handy, and also your mental preparations and stuff. Now, the same thing happens with money. Money has a safety attachment to it as an expectation, as a reasonable expectation and reasonable thinking about that money. But is your money actually secure? No. Reason for that is that governments will print the money, but they will do it on the safety base and not on the security part. And you're like, right. Just stay with me for a second so that I can show you this better. So I am going to teach you right now about a history lesson. I know it's not a world thing, but it is a Venezuelan thing. And you probably might not even know this, even though you're Venezuelan. So here's the deal. In the 1960s, there was a lot of expectations as to retirement, and people really were opening up to new countries and experiences and travels and stuff like that. I mean, before that people traveled, but it was not the same because there were not so much communication and stuff, but there were so many books about traveling and stuff. And then there was a book that says that Venezuela has the tallest waterfall in the world, and it also has a paradise in there, like a Jurassic kind of world, and which, is heaven thing. So every single person that read the book, or or even imagined themselves about retirement and stuff, they thought about Venezuelan first. And you're like, right, I am serious. You could talk to people in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Africa, oh hell, you can talk to people all over the planet about that time, and they will tell you that that if they had US dollars and Venezuelan bolivares, oh hell, they were trading and they were doing transactions in other countries with Venezuelan bolivares, based upon the fact that if you had Venezuelan bolivares, you could retire in this place that has the tallest waterfall in the world, the greenest place you can think of, the land is cheap, the water is clean, the air feels good, the temperature is warm all year round, you don't have problems with communications or whatever. I mean, come on, it's basically the Garden of Eden kind of thing. So every single person thought, I really want to get that money so that I can get there, so that I can be in the Venezuelan retirement, because it is going to be heaven, because of a book. And you're like, what the hell? Yeah, that's how fiat currencies work. Okay, they work based upon expectations, and they associate that expectation not only to a particular place but a particular emotion. So in my case, in the 1960s and 70s, you can check it out if you want, people were thinking, hey, I want to retire in this heaven thing, okay, and I want to make that happen, so I'm going to make my money and I'm going to save and I'm going to do that in that. So now everybody's doing that with the US dollar, but at that point, people were Venezuelan bolivares and the US dollar were kind of rivals, because people were thinking, yeah, I can go to the US, but yeah, the US is free, unregulated, whatever, but it's not heaven per se. I mean, it might be beautiful or whatever, but it's not the tallest waterfall in the world, and it's not, Indiana Jones kind of lifestyle or whatever, but Venezuelan is. So it was kind of like that. So is it good to put that kind of thinking and emotional together when it comes to money? Hell no, because they were thinking that it was safe, meaning safe, but was it secure? Hell no. Then when politicians in my country figured that money was, they had to print money to go all over the world. I mean, it was insane. They couldn't do it. They were having so many freaking troubles, and then they decided not to push this agenda anymore or whatever. And then they just say, hey, if we have people all over the world coming from Venezuela, then what are we going to do? I mean, we're going to lose all the Amazons and stuff, because we're going to have to develop it, and it's going to be hell. And they decided to just stop that. So they decided to not allow the money to go out, and not only that, but they decided to make it in inflation and stuff and printing, and they did a lot of policies that just made sure that the Venezuelan bolivar was not safe anymore, so that people will not feel safe, even though that they were thinking about these things still. They were making it like, oh no, do you have a lot of diseases there or whatever. They did all they could, and now the security aspect was into place, meaning the physical things that go against your safety. See, safety, you can think that you can do something and then you're going to do it and then you can't. So because you have limits. You have limits in the physical world, and this is where it comes in. You have limits that comes in the money energy and the money flowing, not because of the money per se, but because of regulations and stuff. And this is where everything went wrong. Now, we have Venezuelan bolivares that nobody wants, and everybody is trying to figure out what the hell to do, because every single person who has money is living here. And you're like, yeah, but I'm not going to the US dollar or whatever. And I'm like, No, yeah, a lot of people are not going to the US dollar because they are thinking better with Bitcoin and other kind of coins that like that. And they are thinking, people are actually feeling safe with the Bitcoin, but the point is that feeling safe is not the same as being secure. People are thinking that they are going to be able to pay with Amazon or I don't know, pay taxes, and they will be able to buy everything with the Bitcoins, and they're not, because this is not regulated by any government, which is a problem. Because here's the good news about the fiat currency. And this is a comparison between silver, gold, Bitcoin, and fiat currency. Fiat currency has an actual government that goes behind it. That government might screw things over like you have no freaking idea. Oh hell, like they have done this right now. I mean, we have 300,000% inflation rate right now, and it's insane and whatever. And yes, it has its problems. But here's the deal. That money can be traced. That money can be taxed. That money can be regulated. Okay? So if somebody does something wrong with that money, or they commit a crime, what is the first thing that people say when they commit a crime? Follow the money. Follow the money. So how the hell are you going to follow money in Bitcoins? See, if everybody will go to Bitcoins, then you can go, and for all I know, you can sell kids. You know, you can be a kidnapper and sell these things, and you're like, yeah, but most people are not. Oh yeah, you will be surprised about how people can do these things that are insane. Now, this can also happen with silver and gold. And you're like, oh, come on, I'm serious. I mean, come on, if you're going to take silver and gold, I mean, for payments, there are going to be several things that are going to be here. If you get scam, as in somebody sells you, you know, a metal that you think is silver, but it's not, who the hell are you going to complain to? So, same happens with Bitcoin. What happens if somebody hacks into your account and they drain it completely? And you're like, come on, I had 20 Bitcoins yesterday and now I have none. Who the hell are you going to complain to? Who? Now, if somebody was to do that in your bank account, oh hell, you can go to the agencies that regulate the banks, you can go to the government, you can go to the press, you can go and do whatever the hell you want, but that money is going to probably be insured or whatever, and you will have some sort of protection. You know? Is that protection worth something? Oh hell, come on, I'm telling you. So other things that you might consider that you didn't have considered before, and it's this one. Money, and I do mean money. Money has a price, and you're like, oh come on, I know a $20 bill is worth $20. Oh hell no. I'm talking about the price of money, as in the actual cost of money, meaning the interest rates and so many other things that are related to how your transaction with that money works. So for example, let's say that you have $20 in your bank account, but you're going to take it out, you know, by the ATM. So that $20, you're not going to be able to take out. You might be able to take $15 out, and then you have to leave some money of that in the bank. Those things are cost, okay? Cost related to money. And this is the same. You will have that same cost with any kind of currency. So let's say that you do transactions in Bitcoin. So every time that you do transactions in Bitcoin, they will charge a small fee. Or let's say that you want to take the Bitcoin out and then change it into a coin like Japanese yens or British pounds or whatever. And then you are like, yeah. So that particular transaction is going to cost you money. So if the transaction says one Bitcoin is worth $10,000, you are not going to get $10,000. You're probably going to get $9,900 or something like that, you know. It's called the price of money, meaning that you will never, ever, ever get the exact same amount of money that you have printed on the bill. So this also has a cost when it comes to interest rate, because if somebody lends you $20 and you have to pay it back, you are not going to pay $20 back. You're going to probably end up paying 24 or 25, depending upon how much, how long you take to give it back or whatever. So this is important to understand, because when you have silver and you have gold and every single person wants these things, their cost on the transactions are going to be higher. You're like, no, actually it will be lower. No, actually it's going to be higher. But because let's say that you only have 100 coins of silver for 200 Americans right now, and that will give half of one coin of silver for people. But some people will have 4 and some people will have 0. So that also creates inflation on the price of the silver, because every single person now will want to have silver. And same with gold and stuff like that. This problem that they have with the difference between the silver, the gold, and the much, and the blah, blah, blah. This is why you need the fiat currency not to be related to this, but to be related to something specific. Like in the US, if you take a look at the bills in the US, they are all about dead people that actually made a very, very, very much big, huge thing that culturally was a great thing. It's like you remembering that your grandfather bought this land for you, and now you have apple trees, and it's beautiful because your grandfather did this for you. So you are taking pride of your grandfather and your things. So this is why the US bills have faces of people that are dead, that are actually admire and respected and look up to, and everybody wants to be like them. So this is why this fiat currency, particularly the US, is so good. It's because the image of you wanting to be like them, you feeling secure, because the people that are behind that thing, behind that money, behind that country, are people that are amazing, people that are scientists, people that are these great politicians, people that fight for freedom, people that fight for equality, people that do these huge amazing things, and you want to look up for them, and you want to feel like them, and you want to become part of their family. So this is why you have that. Now, other people's currencies don't have that kind of thing. Other people's currencies have different kind of things, like mine. In Venezuela, they have other designs that are beautiful or whatever, but the point is that they represent something. But with silver and gold, you don't have that. You're just changing a piece of metal. You don't have the value of something that is quite emotional attached to it. This will make people feel a little bit greedy and disconnected from this value, and this will create huge differences, because if you don't have, if you're thinking that people are rational, oh my God, you are delusional, because I haven't seen any single person in this whole planet that you can tell me that is entirely rational. Because even people like Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory thing, they are not completely rational because they can't connect with other people, which is irrational per se. So, you have to realize that you need to add the emotional component to this to work. Now, the emotional component, you may have it in Bitcoin, but you don't have the security, which is the taxes and the regulation. And if you don't have the regulation, you can't get in there, and you can't feel entirely safe like you will do in a currency. Also, if you do this, I'm going to remind you this. Let's say that for whatever reason, now nobody wants a US dollar, but everybody wants to deal within Bitcoin, and you have a problem because now people will have Bitcoins, they won't have US dollars. And people in the stores, like let's say that you want to go to Walmart or Winnie Dixie or whatever, and you're like, hey, I have Bitcoin, I don't have US dollars, do you take them? And then they are like, no. If this happens only once, that's going to be like, yeah, no big deal. But let's say that 100 people go to the store and they say the same thing. So if you have 100 people doing this in Walmart is going to be like, hey, 100 people came and they didn't buy, but they have Bitcoins. So what do we do? And then you are like, yeah, nothing. But then it's not 100 people, because then it's 10,000 people that go into the store and they say, hey, we have Bitcoins, do you take them? So they can't take them because, like I said before, the tax regulations and stuff like that. So they want to take Bitcoins, which means that they have to be by law, they have to be able to take the Bitcoin or the silver or the gold. And if you want to do that, then there has to be laws and there have to be regulations, because again, this is white market and even gray market, they will be regulated. And you want them to be regulated. I don't care if you think you don't, because if you don't have a regulated matter, you will have, you will be insane, because everything will be counterfeited. There will be no more brand. There will be no respect for, how do you call that one? The name things, the laws that will allow you to have this brand is mine and it's not to be taken for granted or nobody else can use it. So try to imagine if there is no white market, but now everything is gray or black. Now, if I want to go out and make a Coke, I can just go make something and then say, oh, this is a Coke. Oh, come on, you're not supposed to do that. So you want to have regulation. So this type of thing will take time. Hell, it took nearly 6 months. 6 months for people in my country to take US dollars in the stores. 6 months. Everybody had US dollars and now nobody has bolivares. But it took the stores 6 months. And even now, we still have problems because we have 5 different kind of exchange rates, depending upon who you ask. So some stores will say the US dollar is worth 500,000. Others will be like, no, it's worth 100. It's worth 485. Other people will be like, oh no, it's for 503. So depending upon where you go, you will get more money or less money. And this is going to be, like I said, another set of problems, because you have the same currency, but you have like 5 different kind of values, so it's not fair or safe or whatever, which it creates it by per se instability and things like that, but that is not as bad. But still, all those things take time. And now, here is an example of another thing that most people will not consider or have not considered. This fiat currency is also a measure of your standard of living. If you are used to right now having $1,000 and with that money, being able to, pay the car, pay the house, buy food, go to the restaurants and go out with friends. But all of a sudden you have $1,000, but things got so expensive that you cannot go out with friends. And then now you cannot go out to dinner, with family or whatever. And then you're like, no, you can't make the payments for your car. Or then you're like, no, you can't, buy anything of the food or whatever. You are going to have problems with the standard of living. So here is an example of, what I told you before. Let's say that you are making $2,000 per month. And let's say that each silver coin is worth $20. So that means that your standard of living, if you were going to translate this into silver, is going to be 100 coins. Okay? Now, let's say, because this is what is happening in my country, and this is what is what has happening in many countries that have gone through inflations for a very long period of time or whatever. So now let's say that you are, people will do adjustments in your salary and stuff, and now you are making 7,000. Okay? And you're like, yeah, I don't feel safe with this anymore. I don't feel safe with the US dollar anymore. So I'm going to trade silver. So now everybody wants silver, which makes the silver more expensive. So the silver goes from $20 to $50. So you are like, yeah. So I have $7,000. In between that, I have 140 coins. So the problem with this is that these 140 coins is not going to be the same 100 coins for this standard of living. Because right now, if I wanted to do the 5 things that I just mentioned before, I will need 200 coins instead of 140. If you have 100% inflation in everything, that means that you need 200 coins instead of 100 coins because it is double. Every time that you have 100% in inflation means that you have 100%, increase of the price. That means that you have the same price double twice. So 100, double means, twice the same amount. So twice the same amount is 200 coins. So now you're making 140 coins. That is, 30% less coins that you had before. So it's the same as here having 70, meaning that you will not be able to have the same standard of living. And now, how is this going to affect trade and commerce? Oh, hell, it's going to be affected a lot. Because if you are a teacher or somebody that is used to certain kind of standard, you will be like, oh no, I'm not taking $7,000 as a payment. I want $10,000. And then people, they are the ones that have actual, knowledge and stuff. They will be like, oh no, I'm not going there without 10,000. So I'm leaving. So people will be fleeing these places because they are making 7,000. And you're like, but 7,000 is a lot of money. Oh, hell no. Not if you're considering that you need 200 coins because you have 100% inflation. See? So people will flee. People will go crazy. People will do a lot of things, and they will all of them will be emotional, and they will all be based upon expectation of things, and they will all affect your standard of living. Now, how the hell does the government help you here to maintain the standard or do whatever the hell you want if you are doing something with these 2 things that they cannot get their hands on, and they cannot regulate that? They can't regulate silver and gold. They can't. They can't regulate Bitcoin. They can't, because these are things that are not based upon, they printing it or they measuring it. And not to mention, like I've said before, these are things that are not traceable. And if they are not traceable, guess what is going to happen when every single person can do whatever the hell they want without regulation and without no trace? Guess what happens with, things like your actual security, like kidnapping people or making money by selling drugs and doing whatever the hell they want because they can be caught. And they can't be caught because there is nothing to prove that they were doing something. Because if you have witnesses, they can, they can buy them, they can lie, they can do whatever the hell they want, but you don't have links. But if you were having fiat currency, you will have links. You will have regulations. I can't go into the street and say, hey, I'm going to sell Coke. Or, hey, I'm going to use sell cornflakes by Kellogg's and it is my corn. Hell no. Those things are possible because there is fiat currency. You're thinking, yeah, I just will rather have that. Yeah. Like I said, I am not a financial advisor. I have said this 150,000 times before. I am just a teacher. And I'm trying to tell you that every system has its flaws, but there is a reason why people like Benjamin Franklin thought, hey, we need this. We need this. And you're like, yeah, if you don't believe me, just check history and then let me know. But in the meantime, you don't have to agree with me. It's just food for thought. And I don't have to be right. I may not even have the right concepts or whatever, but I am just trying to tell you right now that there is a reason for this. There is a reason for that. There is a reason for that. And you need to consider which one do you want.